Hi, in this video we are going to talk about the production module of TranZact. So let us take an overview of production, what exactly production means. So production is the process of converting raw material to finished good. So typically there are two types of production. One is made to order and another is made to stock. So in case of made to order, companies don't start making the finished good unless they get an order from a customer. And in case of made to stock, they keep on making finished goods, and whenever an order comes, they sell it to the customers. So it's very important to keep know that there is a distinct difference between these two, and both of them operate a bit differently. Okay, so now when raw material is converted to finished good, there are certain processes in between. So these processes, for example, there are this process like say painting and welding involved. So these are called routings. So routing essentially means that okay, there is a raw material and there are various stations in the factory shop floor. Each station, suppose a station is there for painting, one station for welding, one station for soldering. So the raw material goes to various stations. So these stations are sometimes called routings. After this routing, say raw material are converted to semi-finished good. So semi-finished good is an intermediary step. And from this semi-finished good, finally you get the finished goods, and you also get scrap material, which are the unwanted materials. So over here, there is scrap material. Uh, it's also important to note that in certain production processes, multiple finished goods are produced. Different types of finished goods are produced. But in TranZact, we only cater to cases where one finished good is produced in one process. Okay, now let us talk about bill of material or BOM. So this is a word you will frequently hear from people working in production modules. So bill of material is essentially a document that tells that how many quantity of each raw material is required to produce a finished good. So for example, over here, the finished good is fan, and for making one piece of fan, you will require one motor, 3 blades and 10 screws. So this is called a BOM, this document defining defining how much raw material is required to make a fan. So BOM can be a single level or multi-level. So this is an example of a single level BOM. Multi-level BOM is essentially where the raw material, it is also further broken down. Okay, what is required to make that particular raw material. So in this case, for making fan, again we need motor, blade and screws, but motor is again made from wires and plates. So this is a multi-level BOM where the motor now becomes, rather than raw material, it has become a semi-finished good. So these are the motor, blade and screws are called level 1 materials, and wires and plates are called level 2 materials. So in TranZact, you can define both single level and multi-level BOM. In TranZact, there is another feature where you can say that define alternate materials. So for example, over here screws are used, right? So suppose in certain case screws are missing and you want to use nut bolt. Then while defining BOM, you can define an alternate material for screws as well. So now let us take a look at a bill of material. So this is an example of a bill of material for globe valve. So as you can see, this is a multi-level bill of material where in level 1 I have only one item, and there is a level 2 which is shown in red, and there is a level 3 as well. So these are the various raw materials and semi-finished good. As you can see over here, I have added an alternate material as well. So alternate material for the first raw material. And there are 3 routings: welding, turning and assembling. I have not mentioned any scrap, and the other cost, that is labor charge, electricity charges, are also not mentioned. So this is example of a bill of material. Now if I click on the BOM cost, I get to know what is the cost of making 1 unit of the finished good. So over here I can see that how much how much it will cost me to making a finished good. So here you can see there is a red mark. So this is a warning sign because one of the raw materials has price as 0. So whenever any material has price 0 because of some user error or input error, we highlight it to the user so that they can rectify it and calculate the correct BOM cost. Now let us take a look at production orders. So over here in production order page, I can see the various stages, which we'll take a look in detail. And suppose I now open a production order. So this is example of a production order. So using a bill of material, whenever I have to produce something, I create a production order. So it tells me that, okay, what all raw material is required, how much quantity is required. So these are essentially built from the bill of material template. I can see, since this is a multi-level BOM, so there are two processes that have been created. One is the parent process and this is the child process. You can see a /1 beside it. So if there are multi-level BOM is there, then there will be child processes. There is level 2 is there, then will be second level child process will also be present. So this is an example of production order where you can see how much cost in labor charges, electricity charges, etc. is also mentioned. So now let us talk about various stages of production order. Now, when a production floor decides that, okay, we want to make a certain material, they convert a bill of material to a production order. Not convert, rather, they make a production order from a bill of material. So this is the planned stage, wherein you are still planning, okay, in a raw material, it says that I have to use 10 quantity of certain material to make a finished good, whether I need 10 or 11 or 9. So that kind of planning happens. So till that time, the production order is in a planned stage. Now, as soon as you decide that, okay, now the planning is done and I want to start production, it gets published. So when the production order gets published, it moves to a pending stage. In this pending stage, the production has not yet begun, but the shop floor people have been notified that you have to start producing. Now, as soon as the first material is issued, the production order moves from a pending stage to WIP. WIP means work in progress. So now in this stage, all the different kinds of actions are taken into the production order, which includes issuing of raw material, producing finished good, testing, everything happens over here. And finally, when everything is done, the production order is marked as complete. So these are the various stages from which the production order goes. A key thing to note is that the production order or the process can be edited in the first three stages, all the three stages. However, raw material cannot be deleted in the pending and WIP stages. It can only be added, edited, and deleted in the planned stage. In the pending and WIP stage, you can only add new raw materials. You cannot edit the older ones. Okay, so now what are the different stages of item issues? So in the previous slide, we saw that in WIP stage, all the actions take in the process, right? So over here, first of all, the RMs are issued. So whenever raw material is issued, the process is still in WIP stage. Now, when the finished good is produced, it moves from WIP to FG testing. FG testing is finished good testing. So when in this stage, the user has an option. Suppose they have produced 10 quantity of finished good. Now user has an option to either accept the 10 quantity, reject certain quantity, and send certain quantity for repair. So out of, say, 10, 7 is accepted, 2 is rejected, and 1 is sent to repair. So then when the repair is complete, it again goes to FG testing and the process continues. So this is the item issue stages. So inside WIP, there are this FG testing and FG testing, repair, and all those stages are present inside WIP. Let us see how we can produce FG in this production order. So over here, I just click and I go to action, finished good. So over here, as soon as I add 3 quantity and click on save, it goes for FG testing. So in this process order, let us see how we can do FG testing. So when I click on FG testing, so over here you can see that so 10 quantity needs to be tested. So over here it is written, so I am testing all 10 and I have an option to pass. So if I click on 7, I pass 7 and I send for repair 1 and then rejected is 2. So as soon as I click these, 1 quantity will go for repair, 7 will be accepted and 2 will be rejected. So this is how you do FG testing. Process costing is similar to BOM costing. I can just click here in the process cost. and this tells me how much it costed it to me make 1 unit of the finished good. So over here you can see that the price per unit is 18,398. Now we use FIFO costing for calculating this cost. There is no other option of using other costing methods. Now let us talk about two other concepts called work order and subcontract order. So work order is created whenever user creates an order confirmation. A work order is automatically created for the items in the OC. So essentially what it means is that suppose sales team is selling an item, right? So if that item has to be produced, then the production floor has to be notified. So whenever a order confirmation is created, a work order is created for the same item in the production module, so that the shop floor guys can know that, okay, now we have to make this order. And then from this work order, they can, using the bill of material, they can create the process, and the rest of the steps remain the same. So another concept is called subcontract. So sometimes what happens is whenever you are producing a finished good, there are certain parts of the process that you want to outsource it to some third party. So in that case, what you do is you take a process, click on the outsource, and it becomes a subcontract. So now what happens, once you have created a subcontract, you have to assign it to a supplier. So that is done by creating a subcontract order. This is similar to a service order, wherein you might remember, right? So there is a service and you place an order for that. So it's similar in nature. So there is a service you want to take and you create a subcontract order. Then you send material using delivery challan. So the material that is there in your shop floor, you have to now send to the person who will be doing the processing. You use a delivery challan to create it. Now when the person has made the finished good, they have done all their processing and they have sent it back, you receive the FG via the invert. Now you do a testing and you create GRN and you finally punch the invoice. So now the thing is, this whole process looks similar to a service. However, now it is associated to a production order. So the different stages, such as creating challan is equivalent to issuing of raw material, creating invert is equivalent to producing FG, and creating GRN is equivalent to FG testing. So in this particular process, these three steps can only be done using these documents. They cannot be directly done in the from the production module. So this is something that you need to take care. So now let us take a look how a subcontract order looks like. So I'll just click on a sample subcontract order. So over here you can see a service order has been generated, then an invert has been created, GRN has been created. So these are the different steps of the subcontract. So over here you can see that the subcontract is associated with this particular process. Suppose I want to issue material, so I can do it via delivery challan. So now it has taken, so this page will open wherein you will say that, okay, which all raw material you want to issue via delivery challan, and the challan is created. So these steps have to be taken to issue raw materials, and also similarly you can create invert and GRN for getting the finished good into the system. So this is the section where you can see the work orders. So these many order confirmations have been created and associated work orders have been created. Now if I click on this and I create a production order, I can see that I'm starting a production order from the work order. The final thing in the production module in TranZact is we have got various settings for users. So these settings are not visible from front end, but we can activate it from back end depending on customer request. So first is checking the FG quantity. So that FG quantity, excess FG quantity cannot be produced as per the quantity of RM issued. So for example, in the process, I've said that one FG requires 10 RM, right? And somebody only issued 8 RM. Then you cannot produce the 1 FG, right? So that check is present. We can also keep a RM issue restriction so that excess RM is not issued in a process order. If only 5 quantity of RM is issued, then user cannot issue 8 quantity of RM. Then there are some other settings as well, like the work order that you said was generated from order confirmation, right? So the work order can also be generated from invoice. So rather than creating an work order when an OC is issued, a work order is created when after doing everything, finally the item is sold and the user wants to reduce the required RM, then work order is created from invoice in that case. And finally, if certain companies want to show a total RM quantity in the bill of material in process order, they can see it. So typically it is used in chemical industry, wherein they want to see that, okay, for making a particular 10 liter of finished good, you need 5 liter of RM1, 2 liter of RM2, and 3 liter of say RM3. So they want to add and see whether the 10 liter is matching or not. So typically this only happens when all the raw materials are in same unit of measurement. Otherwise it won't make sense. So this is another setting that you can switch on. That's all from production module. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.